Afia TV News tonight on our conversation segment. We're talking about the South Africans reacting to the relaxed visa rules for Nigerians. Well, South Africans have expressed mixed reactions following President Cyril Ramaphosa's announcement of a simplified visa process for Nigerians. The new measures include 5-year multiple entry visas and the option for Nigerian tourists to apply for visas without submitting their passports. The announcement was made during the 11th session of the Nigeria-South Africa Binational Commission, BMC, in Cape Town on Tuesday, where President Tinubu was also present. He says, and I quote, "Our efforts to create a favorable environment included simplifying the visa process for Nigerian business people traveling to South Africa. Qualified Nigerian business people were granted a 5-year multiple entry visa," unquote. Ramaphosa said this at the event. However, South Africans have been reacting, and they say, and I quote, "This man hates South Africans. You can't tell me otherwise. He's now gaslighting us because he knows how we feel about Nigeria." Another social user says, and I quote, "Why Nigeria of all countries?" And another one says, "The whole of Nigeria is going to come to South Africa." Well, another one noted that this president knows very well how we feel about Nigerians, but no, he wants to pass us off, pieces off even more. I beg your pardon. Let's start in 2026. Let's punish ANC. At Cyril Ramaphosa is a traitor. If it's not foreign shop owners, then it's Nigerians. Why would South Africa opt to ease visa rules with Nigeria whilst other countries are considering cancelling them because of the delinquent behaviors of these people? Well, joining me now to discuss this further is Nnamdi Obanya, who's an analyst and, of course, the general manager, Afia TV. Good evening, sir, and welcome to Afia TV tonight.
Good evening, amazing.
Good to have you.
Good to be here.
Okay, so let's start by asking if you see this diplomatic tie working at all. And, you know, a lot of social users there were saying, well, very soon the whole of Nigeria is going to come to South Africa. And Nigerians even willing to go to South Africa with all of the xenophobic actions that they have experienced.
I mean, it's sad that we have the reputation as being persistent and frequent economic refugees. We seem to see escape from Nigeria as the means to end all our problems. And yes, there was a goalkeeper, I think it was Sam Okoye, who died while I think on trial or playing for a club in Iraq during the height of the conflict there. So Nigerians will go anywhere where there's foreign currency. The Naira's depreciation is so bad that it's easy to find currency that is more stable than it. Places that have the basic things. I mean, this is a country where we cannot guarantee 24 hours of light in any building. And even the presidential villa, Aso Rock, has a budget for alternative power, diesel for generator, and things like that. So where places that have basic amenities, standard healthcare, things most of the world take for granted are seen as extreme luxuries in Nigeria. So we tend to have the habit of living. So that reputation, and of course, we are not very humble when we travel. And by that, I mean that we are, you know how we are. We're loud, we're boisterous, we like to party, we like to have fun, we like to express ourselves. So anywhere we go, you're going to know Nigerians are there. You know, if we're doing business, we're competitive, we are aggressive negotiators, we're easy to spot a mile away, particularly my Igbo brothers, very easy. Because in any commercial center, you're bound to find a hub of them. And while we are very good at assimilating into people's cultures, there are things that we ourselves do so well that we find hard to get rid of. For example, Nigerian food, even if you're not a Nigerian, is some of the tastiest in the world. Basic food in Nigeria is extremely tasty. What we call standard swallow and soup or standard jollof rice. These are extremely tasty meals. And look, we are very fashionable people. We like to dress to impress. So that's the Nigerian way. About Cyril Ramaphosa, I think South Africans are overreacting and they're having a xenophobic knee-jerk reaction to what is a very, very sensible diplomatic and business move. The South African economy is not exactly on the up. Nigeria is a place where we are known for capital flight and carrying our investments abroad. And South Africa is looking, look, instead of them taking all this money to Europe, why don't we give them an African destination to bring their money? Nigerians like to take their money abroad, whether it's foreign investments, whether it's educational tourism, health tourism. Nigerians like to school abroad, like to get treated abroad, like to shop abroad, like to holiday abroad. So there are so many benefits for them. And if you look at the 5-year multiple entry visa, it's for business people. Most South Africans think that these business people are, they're going to take business away from us. On the contrary, whether they like it or not. I mean, they have companies like DSTV, companies like MTN that are making a very large chunk of their earnings here in Nigeria. One, because of our large population, large consumer base, the fact that we are not very industrial or productive people. So we tend to be at the consumer end of the global scale. So Cyril Ramaphosa has seen this. This could be a chance to bring in new customers. I think what worries South African people is the impression, the ill feeling, and the general bad blood that has come from, social anxiety. You go to Sandton, and some of the most luxurious apartments are occupied by Nigerian boys. I'm not going to say that we don't have people doing illegal things like drugs, like wire fraud, or any of those things. We do have. I'm not even going to lie. But the truth is, even those guys, if you left the poorer townships where people are complaining and you went to the club owners, the hotel owners, the people who have Airbnbs, the people who sell houses, who sell Mercedes-Benzes, especially white Mercedes-Benzes, you'll find out that all these guys are always very happy to have Nigerians there because of the amount of money they inject into the economy. And it's created an unhealthy competition. I know this is very, very odd, but one of the things that's causing this social anxiety is the fact that Nigerian men in particular, I know our girls in Nigeria don't appreciate us, but the global scale, we're a hot cake. I find that my rating in Nigeria is like 5.5, but
I can attest that you guys are hot cake.
8.5 outside the country, and that's why it gets higher in some places like East Africa, but that's another story for another day.
Okay.
Let's focus on this. So that thing has always caused a bit of bad blood, and you've seen this bad blood erupt at multiple times. Even something as simple as a football match, you go on social media and there's so much darkness. Now there are those who will not be angry with this. There are those who will be pleasant surprised. One of whom is the political rival of Cyril Ramaphosa. I'm talking of Julius Malema of the EFF. He has always had admiration for Nigerians because Nigerians do not, as he says, kowtow to the white people. Nigerians don't care about your color. Nigerians will talk to you, look you in the eye. They have no fear. He thinks South Africans are too submissive and tend to take the back foot or take the back seat or be on the back foot when they're around white people. And he loves the way Nigerians couldn't give a hoot about who you are. And he thinks South Africans should try to emulate Nigerians. So he is someone who would be happy to see maybe Nigerians influence South Africans more. I now want to plead to Nigerians that while this opportunity has come, the problem is abuse. We tend to abuse a lot of these things. We've had many good diplomatic relations. It's so funny how people say there was a time when you could go to London without a visa. I'm not an old man, and I'm old enough to know when going abroad was not a problem at all. I'm old enough to know. And it's sad now. The second thing President Cyril Ramaphosa did that I'm really happy about, and I think we should also mention that we like to knock President Bola Tinubu for a lot of the economic hardships and disastrous policies. But I think on this, let's give him his credit, because this deal has happened under him and his Minister for Foreign Affairs and his diplomatic team. Of course, there are those who are already saying, that look, all this is just to create another avenue, another pipeline to funnel money out of the country. And so this is just literally opening the door so the thieves can get out.
Well, I also wanted to look at the part where I have very fantastic friends from South Africa and there's no bad blood between us. So I think they're really fantastic people when you meet them one-on-one. But I was thinking, when I saw the story, I was thinking about an avenue where we can have or push an agenda for Africa to become visa-free. Yeah. I mean, what's the point having to visit an African country and I have to pay for visa? Yeah. I think if we get to that point where the African Union, can talk about this thing, I was happy that, there's a bit of relaxation, but to be honest, I was a bit disappointed that we still had to pay some sort of visa fee for that. So what's the implementation going to look like? Will there ever be an implementation to this, or is it just going to be paperwork?
I mean, in this deal, there's something I was going to mention that President Cyril Ramaphosa did, which is the fact that you don't have to submit your passport to get a visa.
Right.
You could apply without submitting your passport. which is very helpful because I know people who are, particularly South Africa, have had their passports stranded in the embassy and they've missed opportunities to apply for other things that came in between because for 2-3 months your passport is trapped in an embassy. So I think it's a great thing that you don't have to drop your passports. To go to what you said about Africa being visa-free, the likes of Paul Kagame have been championing this for years. And before his untimely and somewhat engineered death, President Mahmoud Gaddafi of Libya was fighting for the same thing. Already in trenches like in West Africa, within the ECOWAS sub-region, you don't need a visa to move around. Same thing with East Africa. In fact, if you're flying to East Africa, you have 2 visa options. You can either get a single country visa or you can get an East Africa tourist visa.
In fact, let me shock you. For the BRICS, between South Africa and Russia, you don't need visa.
You know, and I think the time is coming.
Yeah.
What is happening is that and that's another thing that might affect us, and I will get there. So the East Africa tourist visa allows you to go to any country in East Africa. They operate as one block. I don't think ECOWAS is doing that yet. I don't think we have an ECOWAS visa yet, where if you have an ECOWAS visa, you could go to any country in the ECOWAS sub-region. I think if we first got all our regions to have regional visas, it could be much better because I'll tell you why. I've taken connecting flights like, you're going to Uganda and you take Kenya Airways or Rwanda Air. You give yourself a long layover. And when you stop over in Jomo Kenyatta in Nairobi or you stop over in Kigali, go and see the town, come back. You're going to spend a little money there. It's good for the economy. It was the basis for Emirates Airlines to get people who were stopping over in Dubai to do some shopping. That's why Dubai Duty Free has more things than some entire countries. But, that we need to first get regional visas before we start thinking of a whole collective African visa. I assure you that the Northern African countries with the Arab League will almost never agree to it because they see themselves as economically superior. And South Africa sees themselves the same way. If we start having a situation where South Africa now, there's a BRICS visa, a problem might come in because now they are a BRICS country. They would want to make themselves more exclusive, because now from South Africa, you don't need a visa to get to China, so they too will want to, guard their airspace. But then again, there's also the advantage for them that if more of their people are using more of these opportunities to go to China, Russia, India, it now means that there has to be some sort of inflow, which might even make them relax their visa more, particularly for the world's best spenders, Nigeria. I mean, we see Dubai say, we're bringing in restrictions, and then they notice a shortfall in shopping dollars. And they know. We don't produce anything. We are the world's biggest consumers, and then Cyril Ramaphosa is also looking at knowledge and skill gap. You look at the US, a large population of people in medical school, doctors, lawyers, accountants, Nigerians. Even going to professional sports now in the NBA, in the NFL, you're seeing Nigerians, you're seeing them in politics, you're seeing them everywhere. So it's like in entertainment. So these are very hardworking, industrious people who, by virtue of generation of poor leadership and institutionalized corruption and kakistocracy, have come from an environment where it does not reward, enable, or nurture any sort of self-development that can make you prosper. So when they get to any semi-fertile soil, they're able to blossom and bloom. And Cyril Ramaphosa is thinking, if I can bring they have great tech people, they have great entertainers, they have great lawyers, great accountants, they have great doctors, Imagine the influx of doctors the UK and the US are getting from Nigeria. And Cyril Ramaphosa is thinking I could start medical tourism in South Africa if I can get just 10% of the doctors going to these places in the top hospitals in Johannesburg, Pretoria, and Cape Town. And so I know that he's a mining billionaire. He is not an idiot. He is not a novice.
Okay, but what do you think this will cost him? The likely chances that this might affect the ANC chances in the next election.
Who are they going to vote for? You say, and that's the thing. A lot of South Africans are worried about how radical Julius Malema and the EFF are.
Okay.
They do a lot of great things. But the fact that they are inherently socialists will worry anybody who is a capitalist or a conservative. And there are a lot of them, particularly those who are affluent and who are doing business in South Africa. Even the townships that should have embraced them have not completely embraced them because, there's still that worry about socialism. So who will they vote for? What needs to happen is that between now and 2026, they need to see something happen. I know that, and let me tell you this, I think a lot of the people who have these xenophobic issues overrate their influence and importance in the general scope of the South African economy. They do not control the money, they do not control the land, They do not control the industry. They do not control the policy. Many of them are not even literate enough to, make an effect in terms of bringing themselves as proper political candidates. Even Julius Malema through the EFF offering free education, free pilot schemes, they're not taking advantage. In fact, a lot of my friends in Nigeria started their piloting career in South Africa. So, look, all this talk of will make him suffer. Everybody wants a party and a leader that will make them prosperous. If the ANC has any issue, it didn't start today. Okay. It started from the time of Jacob Zuma. So look, let's not allow ourselves to be, rewarded or sidetracked by the knee-jerk reaction. I think we should take this rare opportunity to give President Bola Tinubu credit, and I mean rare opportunity. And also, we need to set some strict policy guidelines here to prevent abuse. I mean, Dubai is telling us the reasons for this thing. They're having too many Boko Haram sponsors, too many wire fraud boys. I mean, look at Hush Puppy, Woodbury, and all of them there. Look at the list of Boko Haram sponsors that they had a list of them. Okay. So we need to avoid this abuse. We need to worry about money laundering, and we need to worry about the fraud economy, which we already have booming in South Africa, along with the drug economy. So we need to be very, very careful. If we are able to do some sort of joint intelligence operations, properly manage security and financial transactions, I don't think that even in the short term, there'll be any issues that could make people say Cyril Ramaphosa has made a big mistake.
All right. We'll have to leave that there. It's a developing story, and we'll keep our eyes on it and see how the implementation will go forward. But of course, we want to thank you so much for gracing our program tonight, Nnamdi Obanya, Analyst, and of course, the General Manager of Afia TV. Thank you for your vast knowledge tonight. That's all we have for you tonight on Afia TV News, streaming live from Enugu, Nigeria. And on behalf of the entire production team, I am Amazing Grace Ajayi. Thank you so much for watching, and good night.